All right, here we are at Premcar in Epping, about 20 kilometres north of Melbourne. I'm here today with Tom Imbesi, Premcar's head of programming. We're here looking at the Nissan Navara PRO-4X Warrior, Nissan's taller, wider, tougher looking variant that's had a lot of changes since the N-Trek Warrior, Tom.
It has had a lot of changes, absolutely. You mentioned taller, so we've got bigger wheels and tyres, suspension lift. The wider is the wheels and tyres. We increased the track of the vehicle. And certainly tougher.
Yeah.
From the bull bar to the lift stance, the way it looks,
yeah.
Sports bar.
So it's not just a matter of adding springs and dampers, is it? There's a lot of work behind the scenes that goes into upgrading the suspension.
Oh, never just about the springs and dampers. Springs and dampers, what people do in the aftermarket, that's not what we do. We look to do an integrated package. We design it, we develop it, we test it, and we make sure it's an integrated part of the vehicle so that there's no error states, and we broaden the capability of the vehicle.
Yeah, so it's in terms of how wider it is, the track width has been widened considerably from the Pro-4X it's based on.
An additional 30 millimetres, so it was 1570 on the standard Pro-4X. We've increased it out to 1600 millimetres.
Okay, and another notable difference is this front bull bar, the Safari bull bar, which now has an inbuilt LED light bar, and it's winch compatible.
Absolutely, winch compatible. Tick the box as a genuine accessory and you get the winch.
That was from customer feedback from the N-Trek Warrior, which wasn't winch compatible.
Correct. It was one of the main things that people wanted to get out and about, needed a winch or wanted a winch. N-Trek Warrior didn't have it. This one does.
Yep. And also underneath we've got now a Navara bash plate, which is red on all models, and it has the Navara label on it now.
Correct.
Which it didn't in the N-Trek.
No, it didn't have that in the N-Trek. Perfect opportunity to brand it, show the customer that he's got a Navara. Nice bright red powder coat, stands out.
And that's the thing with the bull bar as well, it's powder coated, and it's available in different colours to suit the three colours available.
So based on customer feedback and some of the things we got back from the media and the owners is the paint performance. We've improved that. So we've actually painted over the powder coat as a base, and the colour is matched to the body. So you get a white car, you get a brand new white bull bar, and so on and so forth with the others.
And it's got 3 mil of underbody protection also.
So beyond this splash guard, we've got another engine protection plate that's a 3 mil steel.
Okay, and the engine's unchanged. Was there any consideration to change the power and the performance of the engine?
There's always a consideration. There's a passion within our team to want to go to an improved performance in terms of engine, but there's a lot of challenges with that, and really in reality around the city and the outback and travelling, doing those tough tracks, the performance of the base Navara Pro-4X is actually quite capable and quite comfortable.
Yeah. And
you really don't need too much extra performance.
Yeah, and one of the key considerations when building this was to make sure there was no compromise, so it was great on-road and equally efficient off-road. So one of the key considerations of that is to keep the Cooper Discover all-terrains.
Absolutely.
Which are now with Premcar developed alloy wheels.
Correct. So the wheels are 8.5 inch wide, 1.5 inch wider than the standard Pro-4X alloy. We went to a 17 instead of an 18 inch diameter, but compensated that with the larger Cooper tyre.
Yeah, and also to, I guess, embellish the look of the wider stance, you now have fender flares.
The fender flares were added, number one, to give it that look and that tough stance. We've also got an ADR requirement for tyre coverage, which we must have, but we've managed to integrate the fender flare and the wheel and tyre package to make it look right.
Yep, and it's still got the full-size spare in the tray with the cavity specifically made to cater for that full size.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that the customer never had that situation where they're swapping out a tyre, putting on a smaller tyre and then having to put the spare back in the tub. We want to have that as a seamless situation for the customer. Take the spare out, put the flat back in its position, and be able to just continue the journey without any interruptions.
Yep, and the rear tow bar is carried over from the previous model as well.
Correct. Yep. We had to do a bit more testing and a bit more development around that to make sure that the spare tyre fitted in right with the tow bar, but we got that done and it was fine.
And another notable difference from the N-Trek to the Pro-4X Warrior is it's now utilising a lot more Australian sourced parts.
Correct. We've and particularly this beautiful bull bar here that was previously sourced overseas. We've managed to bring that back, and it's locally sourced from here in Melbourne, which is great. And there's a number of other components like the splash guard and the engine protection plate that's also turned around to be local supply.
So moving towards the interior, and it's much the same as the Pro-4X variant, but there's one notable feature in particular that's different for the Warrior.
So we've got a Warrior branded embroidered headrest in the same stitch colours as the Pro-4X in the seat.
A key change also is there's improved approach angle, improved departure angle, and a considerable update to the suspension to make it both on-road capable and very, very capable off-road. Can you go into a bit more detail about what's been changed, please?
Yes, so firstly we'll tackle the lift. So we've got an additional 40mm lift through tyre increase in diameter and suspension lift. Springs were changed, so we've gone to a bigger wide diameter, and we've readjusted and tuned the spring height to match the height that we wanted in terms of the lift. But we've also tuned it so it's we've managed the way that the vehicle feels and how it handles. So that was a key part of it. The dampers, similar to what we did on N-Trek Warrior, we've gone with a bigger tube diameter on the dampers. We've changed the damping characteristics. Contrary to what most people do and stiffen the suspension, we've actually reduced the stiffness and the compliance in the first rate, but then increased it in the second rate to give it that nice, comfortable, controlled feel over all terrains.
So there you have it, that's the Pro-4X Warrior. We can only touch and prod and look at underneath and around it at the moment. We'll get a drive in a couple of months. So stay tuned to the 4x4 Australia YouTube account, where we'll bring you the drive as soon as it's live. Until then, thanks Tom for joining us.
Thank you,
it's been a pleasure, it's been great, it looks tough, we can't wait to drive it. So stay tuned.